Go, Gavin. Hi, everyone. Teresa Aker here from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. It's my privilege today to bring you Gavin Hyde today. How you doing, Gavin?
I am fantastic, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on your show, Teresa.
Oh, I'm so glad you came. Now, Gavin, I'm just going to read a quick biography about you, and then I'm going to come back to you. So, for everyone, Gavin Hyde is a highly successful business owner and transformational mentor at Gavin Hyde, co-founder of Alchemy Inc. Publishing, the people's publishers and mastermind behind the Elevate Your Expertise framework. With over 2 decades dedicated to personal and professional transformation, Gavin's expertise is recognized worldwide. So, Gavin, we have a lot to talk about today.
We certainly do. We
We
said, look, we're going
absolutely
to squeeze it in this short time frame that we have and give everyone something to take away from this conversation, I'm sure.
now let Gavin, we're going to have a great time. Don't you worry about time. So what is it? Now I'm looking on here. What is transformational mentor, Gavin? Let's talk about that. Let's start there. How did you get into it and what do you do?
That is a great question to start with. So I'm going to answer that with a question, Teresa. And this is obviously for you, but also for the listeners.
Sure.
If you've ever been knocked down by life and somehow found the strength to rise again, that's me.
Okay.
If you've ever grieved something that no one else could see, that's me.
Okay.
Maybe it's the end of a relationship. It could be the loss of yourself, or it could be the life that you thought that you had. Now, all of this creates grief. So I wanted to start with those questions to get the audience kind of thinking because I want to engage them, but also, sure, I want to share some things about myself. Because what I know is that I talk to people like you do most days, all day. And so, in talking to many people, the most common problem that we're all facing right now isn't just about stress and exhaustion. It's about the hidden wounds that we carry. It's about the grief that we never processed. It's the burnout that no one else sees. It's the trauma that we thought we buried and the heartbreaking silence that we sit in when we think no one else understands. So for me, a little backstory about my story. About 30 years ago, I manifested my greatest fear. And that was at the time that my partner would leave me and I'd be left to raise my two young sons. And that happened. So it's like I manifested that fear. And although at that time I wasn't in a great mental place, I was angry most days. I was anxious at the same time. I was chronically addicted to smoking marijuana. Now, that helped me to numb my pain. It helped me to create an armor of anger that I would just project towards everyone else because I was really hurt. But it was really the greatest gift. It was the greatest gift that my son's mum could give me, the gift of being responsibility. So they were like, I think they were 4 and 6 at the time. And so here I was, lucky to get through a day, struggling to get through a day. And now I had to raise two young sons. So I had to find answers to why bad things happen to good people. I'm sure the listeners can relate to that. Why does this happen to me and to no one else? And so I went on a search to find those answers. I had to find myself. I had to wake up. I had to grow up and raise two young sons. So my son's now 33 and 32 this year. So as you can imagine, going back nearly 30 years and to today, there's been a massive journey. So I actually needed to go and get some help. I needed to see someone to sort out my state of mind. And that led to me leaving my government job that I'd had all of my life. Change was the thing that needed to happen. When it comes to it, no one really likes change. We all like the predictability. We all like things to be comfortable. We all like it to be safe. And also the mind isn't wired for change either. It's wired for safety. So I left the shores of safety. I gave up my government job. I moved out of the area that I'd lived my whole life, that I actually had a vision that I would grow up there, my sons would grow up there, and outside of that comfort zone and started life again. And so I used the last of my savings back then, and I enrolled into, I suppose you would say wasn't a personal development program. It was actually a wellness program. Actually became a remedial massage therapist, a sports and remedial massage therapist, because I felt that I could study and I could take care of my sons back then and get to know them, create a relationship and start life again and actually find some work that fitted around their schooling. So that was fantastic that I was amongst a whole lot of new people or in a new environment in this like health and wellness space. And I did one term of that first lot of study, and then I took a deep dive into more study. I went down the rabbit hole into the mind body techniques, kinesiology, mind body medicine, energy psychology, anything that I could get my hands on to understand what was happening inside of me to actually help me and also help me to be a better person and to find those answers that I could actually then raise my two sons with a vision that down the track that they would be responsible and respectable adults when they got to the age that I was. Now, anyone that has kids or children, you know, that's a huge undertaking, just having children, and then a huge undertaking raising children by yourself because there's no manual. And so there was a lot of learning, a lot of pivoting, a lot of just allowing life to happen. And I think for a long time, it was definitely a struggle. There was definitely in that survival mode, and life was hard. But out of that hardship, I suppose the seeds of resilience were sown probably earlier on in my life, and I was able to utilize those seeds that were growing as a strength to find answers, which I did, and I started to help my children, although I still had many huge issues, but I was able to help my sons. And then I must have had, I don't know, ask me a question on my forehead or something, and people would ask me questions. And I found that many hidden skills were starting to come out, and I started to help people. That kind of started my career in this health and wellness field that's flourished to that lovely introduction to where I'm at now. So I suppose the biggest problem that I see now with everything that I've said so far, and I'm sure that the listeners can relate to what's happening in the world because why now? The world's changed, hasn't it? It doesn't look the same anymore. And maybe I should pause and take a breath and allow you to ask a question
Yeah,
because
Gavin, you've done a great job sharing your story. So first, I must say thank you so much for sharing your story today. And we're going to talk a lot more. I took some notes here, Gavin. First of all, well done raising your two children. That's wonderful. And now they're in their 30s. So first of all, you succeeded. So that's the number one. So well done. I started Success Diaries because it was about even myself overcoming trauma and grief. And I think, Gavin, your story is probably the number one reason I have the show because people like yourself and myself who come overcome adversity, trauma, drama, grief, who need counseling, who need to go through things and at first are confused and scared and vulnerable. They, I think we all start to grow strength. We get some help outside of ourselves. We get help for our families when we're going through these things, our friends and people who care about us. And we start to realize we're not alone. However, Gavin, we have to walk those coals by ourselves, don't we?
oh, we certainly do. And I think that's a key piece there that we're not alone, but I think we've spent too long pretending that we're fine when we're actually running on empty.
It's true. And then and you mentioned right at the beginning, and I wanted to circle back a bit because you're right, the trauma comes up much later if you don't deal with it in the beginning. It actually hits you later on. And I remember the tsunami wave that hit me when I realized I needed to talk to my counselor because I'd lost my husband and my daughter, and I was devastated. And I thought I was okay. I went back to work because I'm one of those people that thought everything was okay. And it hit me down about 6 months later after all of that. It just, all of a sudden, I'm just standing there and I just start crying, and the trauma and the grief came up. So, Gavin, I understand completely. I have empathy for what you went through, and I appreciate that you're willing to share with our audience because they certainly know they've seen other people who've gone through things and come out the other side. So, when you took these courses, I heard you say you were starting to talk to people and you started to be able to help them. So, from that adversity, you became who you are today. So, although it wasn't a good thing to go through, it actually was a blessing as well, wasn't it?
Look, it certainly was. And I think if you can look at things as how I look at things now as opportunities, and we really do have choice, even when you think you don't have choice, that's still a choice.
It's true.
And the average person has somewhere between 60 to 90,000 thoughts a day. And the studies show that 95% of those are based on what's happened yesterday. So what I found now is the key is everything has to do with mindset because you're thinking. Everyone is thinking. So I'll give you a quick example, and maybe this is a universal one. If I'm driving around and I'm hungry, let's say McDonald's, they actually solve my thoughts because I can see the golden arches and I can see that sign and I know, oh, with certainty, it's going to cost me a certain amount of money. I'm going to be able to most likely drive through, get my order very quickly. I know what I'm getting, and what will happen is my thoughts of I'm hungry, where do I get food from, is solved by McDonald's. So each and every moment, I think it's so crucial to be able to capture or be aware of what you're thinking because inside of that, you make choices, you make decisions, you take actions based on those thoughts in each and every moment. So I think that the mind, which I'm really passionate about, and I've been exploring for myself, and I still do, and it's through conversations that I have with people that for me, that's where the magic is. The magic's in, I think now people are really craving the truth deep within themselves. The big problem that I feel that happens is that somewhere in the mind there's some old thoughts around I'm not allowed to do things or I don't give myself permission. And so this limiting, reoccurring pattern of thought comes up around that I can't do something or I don't know how to do something. I think this craving of truth to find out who we really are, that's been the mission that I've been on, but even more the connection. So, with the advances in technology, isn't it wonderful that we can sit here? I'm in Australia, you're in Canada, and we
Yeah.
can engage and have this fantastic conversation, and people across the globe can connect into the conversation. But people are really craving this connection, and it's proof that when two people come together, we're connecting here that it's possible to rebuild your life. So making that decision just to say to yourself, I'm allowed to take that step. I'm allowed because if you really stop for that moment in silence and think about it, whatever the voice is running in your head is probably most likely not yours, telling yourself, I should have, I could have, I can't, I don't know how. And that, for me, slows down people moving forward and expanding. And so a lot of the conversations I have are all based around how do we get people over that line to create a new identity,
Yes.
to shine their light to the world based on the fact that they're brilliant, who they are, that they're not broken. So underneath all of that, there's probably thoughts of I'm broken, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not confident enough. And then what happens is then we do our best to prove ourselves. We have to prove ourselves to people, or we want to, we stop ourselves from starting because there's this perfectionism that comes out. We have to make things perfect and get it right before we start. It all sits underneath this framework of these thoughts that I'm not allowed. So that's really the door that opens for my passion. It's having conversations with people and helping them to find that key that they can use to unlock, giving themselves the permission to be the best version, to access the potential of who they really are.
Gavin, that was well put. And you are right. I think everybody, we see our lives through the lens that we have built for ourselves. So you are absolutely right. Our past thoughts, all those negative feelings, because that's our survival, really. Even though it's negative, it's our mind and body saying, I'm going to protect you. Although we think it's bad, it's actually our psyche saying, no, I don't want you to try that because you might hurt yourself, or I don't want you to do this. So let's go with all those things. Remember, it happened before. I don't want you to do it again. Or what if this happens, that dreaded what if? And then we're concerned about anxiety. And so now we're either looking in the past, which is depression, or future too much is anxiety. So we have to find some kind of balance. And Gavin, from there, I think those courses that you took, I don't know if you did mindfulness or centering or finding yourself. The one thing I wanted to mention, you mentioned before, is you had to take care of yourself. So although you were helping your children, you have to help yourself first. Just like in an airplane, if you don't put that oxygen mask on yourself, you're not going to be able to help other people. And it's the same as when you're going through trauma, you have to help yourself first. Then you can help your loved ones, the people around you. And now it makes life a little bit brighter, does it not?
It certainly does. Look, there was a couple of key things that you said there, that dreaded what if. And so I want to maybe give the listeners a takeaway right now, something they can take away. So the best medicine for the dreaded what if is to flip it. So what if something bad happens? The best medicine for that is, what if it doesn't?
What if something good happens?
What if it doesn't? If I'm anxious about something, but what if it doesn't? So
Yeah.
a what if trumps a what if. Think about that. The audience can think about that. And the other piece that you said there was about helping yourself. And I think that is true 100%. You need to put that oxygen mask on, as you said. But what I find even more so now, but also back then, was although I went into this mind body medicine and I started with the massage and the body work, and then I went down the rabbit hole of anything I could find under the framework of, I suppose you would call it now, psychology or mindset, mindfulness. They're all an overarching theme, and I could say that the modalities and so forth, but I won't get into all of the modalities. But like it's been decades of, for me, self exploration.
Sure.
And I suppose now, 25, 26, 27 years later, this has become the number one business asset in my business. When I reflect back, I was struggling. I was a single father. Any money I earned went to putting food on the table for my kids and then paying for my education. And so when I reflected in this way, I've actually invested the last 26 years or so in this business asset called mindset. Now, I've become very rich in myself, in my thinking, in regards to that investment of time, money, and energy. Because as I said at the start, I needed to understand and sort myself out and find myself. But what I found coming through that journey, and even now with the newer ways of doing things and coaching, is that the term coaching wasn't even in the framework back when I started. So now coaching is everywhere. It's a term that's used everywhere. Is that I think that people get an idea, they want to live a lifestyle and do this coaching thing, and they can get certified and qualified, but they don't do the work on themselves. And that's a flaw in the industry, because I work with many coaches that are coaches and have been coaching or for a long time, consultants and so forth, that haven't healed.
Oh, okay.
They haven't healed. They haven't done the work. I remember back when I was becoming a kinesiologist and I was training students at the Natural Medicine College here in Sydney to become kinesiologists, therapists, if you want to call it that, that many of them hadn't, I call it, you need to lie on the table. You need to, or that could be if you're seeing a counselor, sit in the healing chair. You need to do the yards. You need to understand you because, for one, you can't fix anyone. That's their responsibility. But if you haven't done the work, if you haven't unpacked, peeled back, uncovered those hurts, how can you actually help anyone else? And if not that this is the way that I work, is I don't give advice to people. Now, I couldn't give any advice to you. Now, it's sad to hear, and I'm sorry that you lost your husband and your daughter.
Thank you.
Now, if I was, let's say, if we were doing some work together, how could I even suggest to you what you should do? When, for one, I'm not walking in your shoes. Sure, I've done some work, and maybe academically I could say I've got all of these qualifications, but take away the academics, let's connect to the person, and there's an energy. We all know that there's a stronger, powerful, higher hand to this human framework. And so if I haven't done the work and now you're looking for me to help you, how can I actually help you? So
Absolutely. Excellent
that's the
point.
flaw that I find in the industry these days, that people like courses are set up now or programs are set up for business, and business is great because we need business, but also I think it's a, if you can find the space or find someone, if you need help, that has the combination of that spiritual aspect or that soul energy, whatever you want to call that, and also business, common sense, and integrate those two together, I think that's the greatest recipe to build the most mouth-watering cake that you can actually bake and create. And that's the key. For me, that's what I see now in working with different people, is that they still don't they still don't understand themselves.
That's a very good point, Gavin. Let's talk about your business because that's exactly what you do. And you've landed on some very important points here. You have done the work. You have healed. Well, I guess we're always trying to heal, but you've gotten past all of that. You've done the major part of all of what you needed to do to be able to have a company and to be able to help other people. So let's address your company. Do you do courses yourself? Do you mentor people online? What do you do with your company? What do you do, Gavin?
That's a great question. You ask great questions. This is a really
Thank you.
good role for you. So thank you for asking. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
If I was to look back at the younger version of me now and say, Gavin, this is what I would do, because I've made many mistakes. I've invested lots of money in courses, in programs, in people that didn't work. It probably wasn't the people and the programs, it was me that didn't work. So if I was to look back now from a healing perspective, and it's one that is a little, it's probably the most powerful thing, is actually writing your thoughts.
Okay.
And so then that segues into, yes, we do training. So the path that we have for people is really a path for empowered purpose, which is a huge vision to help people to become empowered in their purpose. And so what that means is that we can give them a framework and a qualification so that they can learn about a process to potentially either help other people, but first and foremost to help themselves. They
Absolutely.
need to be able to help themselves. So we were very strong in our values and our mission around, sure, we can help you with a qualification and a training, let's say in coaching, predominantly mindset, but it's coaching and it's a framework where you can learn the tools and the skills that you can apply on yourself to enhance your own capabilities. That has to happen first. So it fits in that, yes, you can do some training. Mentoring fits really well with that because people then need to be able to ask questions. That's that human connection. Yes, we do our work online, but we found that we need to map around all the different parts. So that could be the training online being a group training, one to many, but
Okay.
the one-to-one mentoring has to be part of it. And I remember back in the day when I was training all of the students here in Sydney to become kinesiologists, they had their student clinic. And so they had to be mentored. So then they were learning, applying it for themselves, and then they had to, part of their training was to then work with the public. And so part of that was the supervision of the students. And then there was another part of that program that was the one-on-one mentoring that we did with all of the students, that they had to have a certain amount of time with a mentor. So I've just duplicated that process that I learned very early on. Yes, the coaching mindset certification is part of it. But what I find is if I was to go back, the most powerful thing is writing.
Yeah.
Because when you write with the framework and the framework that we created, obviously it's the framework that I went through to do the healing that I need to do, and I still do that today. Because as you're aware, we're evolving, and there's no end line. There's
No,
no end line to this journey.
Gavin, I too journal every day. I absolutely do. In fact, I plan my day in writing. I think about where I'm going in my mind and my body and how am I feeling that day and what am I going to actually accomplish? Because some days we think we're going to accomplish a lot, but every now and then we have those days where we're just not there. And that's when we're not committed 100%. So we have to take a step back. At least I do. I have to take a step back, take a breather and say, okay, maybe today is not the day to take on the challenge, but perhaps do something associated with that challenge. And then the next day go back into, because every now and then we do need to take a break. As you said, go inside ourselves. To your point, we're reevaluating where we are inside our emotions and where we're going in the future. So Gavin, I think everything you're doing is great. I think from your empathy that you have for other people, and it comes through so well with you that you're going to go very far with this business. And when I say that, helping other people, I know there's a business element to it, but the heart that you have, I can see shining right through. So thank you, Gavin. I have a question for you, though. Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? Where do you see yourself going, Gavin?
Where I see myself is I'm still doing what I'm doing now.
Okay, good. And you're
So
growing and getting new people to help them.
yeah, you are so attuned to this process here and also connected to me. You must be able to see something inside of me
I
because
do.
where I'm heading is this isn't what I do, I love. This isn't a job. This
I'm
is
aware.
this is my life.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to keep living. Now, where I see myself is just using a current experience that I have that I've just had and tuning into exploring the writing a little bit more, what I found was that if you're going to come through and heal yourself or even come into this industry to help other people, wellness, health and wellness, become a coach, become a difference maker, raise the consciousness of the planet, they're all the same thing, aren't they? Expand, evolve, all of those things is that writing from an associated perspective, and you use that word, if you can write a story, and you were saying journaling. So what we do now is or part of the path is that we help people to write their own story.
Yes.
So for the last, this year anyway, we've published two multi-author books.
Oh, okay.
One of them was just published yesterday. I'll share a little bit about that. But the reason why I'm saying writing is, and having a pro formula to write is you'll be able to do a lot of healing when you write with the correct structure and the correct framework to actually become associated when you connect back to one of those pain points in your life. Because those pain points become like mines that we can mine and we can pull diamonds out of forever for the rest of our life. But to get the diamonds out of the mine, we need to go into there and we need to be able to become associated. And I think having a framework with writing, it accesses all of the senses. It's probably one of the most powerful, although it takes time. And that's the key. It actually takes time to go through this healing process of writing. And so what we found is that when we're helping the coaches now or the people coming through the path or people wanting to write their story, instead of doing the work that we did previously, the healing, the therapy, however it is that you want to call it, is done through the writing. And so what occurs is someone will write their story and there'll be pain associated to that. But then we're able to help them to flip that into what's the empowered outcome, what's the appreciation, what's the gratitude, what's the value, what's the learning, which is like doing the mining and pulling the diamonds out of. So our unique methodology is based out of, if I was doing a one-on-one, let's say healing or therapy session like I did previously, I've just created a framework where people write that. Now they get to the end of the journey and now they've got a whole story. And then we help them to become published authors. So yesterday we just published a book here in Australia, and the theme is all around breaking the silence because people don't speak up. They're not allowed to speak up. So we've created a series. So yesterday was the second book in the series of Breaking the Silence, and this one was about resilience, rising again, fueled by resilience. And so we've taken these people through a pathway where they've extracted out that pain, they've created the healing from it. And then yesterday we launched the book here in Australia. And it's when you said, where do you see yourself? I have goosebumps lighting me up all over that, to see the joy, to see what in people when it comes out and it oozes out, when they're totally engaged with it, that it actually became a bestseller here in Australia in, I think, 7 out of 8 categories. And so that lights me up to support people like we did yesterday through this framework, because now they can use this book as their credibility. It's their story. So then they now get to talk about themselves. They now get to promote themselves. They now get to do their workshops. They now get to help more people to heal as well. So it's become like a marketing funnel that we take them through this journey so that they actually get to this point. Because what happens is their identity shifts. And to have an identity shift, there's multi layers of things or structure inside of the mind that needs to happen. So my a passion for knowledge and education and understanding me is put into this framework, this elevate your expertise framework that gives a person the key to shine their light so they can go out and continue to do the healing for themselves, but also to heal others. And I'm not in this business by myself. Like my wife and I are the foundation of this. And so these are the conversations that we have every day, but that's what I'm passionate about. So if I was to talk to someone new in the field as a coach or someone looking to want to improve themselves, I'd say that's okay. Get your qualification, but write your story, put it into a book, because I think the studies are something around 80%, 81% at least of, I think it was a study in America anyway, but of adults want to write a book and 1% do. So
Yeah.
to be able to sit back, watch these people heal, get on social media and do a video, post,
Yeah.
ask their friends to support them,
Yeah.
ask their friends to say, can you buy the book? If you're in business, you have to ask people for their business. You have to ask, there has to be a call to action. So it's like this whole system in one, where there's a saying, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So we just teach these people how that they can be themselves, live their life, do what they love, and take away all the problems that we've had over 25 years that we
Yeah.
faced, and just make it easy for them.
Gavin, do you have happen to have a copy of that book in front of you? Is it happen to be there or no?
I don't.
What's
The ebook was launched yesterday, so I
what's
don't.
the title of it, Gavin?
It's
What's the
called
title?
Breaking the Silence.
That it is called that, Breaking the
Yeah,
Silence. Okay.
Breaking the Silence. And actually it is, because you're in Canada. I know you got listeners all over the world, but I know that it is available in your part of the world. But it's called Breaking the Silence.
Okay.
Rising Again, Fueled by Resilience. And on the front cover, it doesn't have my name. It has the name of the Academy, which is the Awakened Author Academy, because we're a collaboration.
Sure.
I don't need to have my name on the front of the book. It's not a me thing, it's a we thing.
Sure.
Your teamwork makes the dream work.
I have one more question for you. We've done a lot of talking today. I'm so grateful that you came on. I would like to know, would you like to come back and do another episode with me down the road, Gavin?
I would be honored. That would be lovely. Thank you. That would be so, yes.
Thank you. I really enjoyed myself today, and we have so much more to talk about. It would be my pleasure to have you back. Thank you so much. And Gavin, I'm going to have all your information here, but let's say someone wanted to reach out right now. What's the best place to reach you?
Oh, Facebook would be the easiest. Like you can, my website is being updated, which is just my name. So it's Gavin Hyde. So it'd be www.gavinhyde. I'm in Australia.com.au. Yes, you can contact me through there. But Facebook, this pretty face is the same, is the same pretty face that you
We're
would
going to
see on Facebook.
recognize you, Gavin.
Oh, for sure. How could you, I can say unrecognizable? No, unforgettable. Unforgettable.
Unforgettable. You shine with all the energy and all the caring and all the love that you could possibly muster. I think it's wonderful, Gavin, and I would be thrilled to have you back. And I know everyone's going to be able to reach out to you and they'll have some questions. And in the meantime, we'll schedule a time for you to come back, and I think that would be terrific. So thank you so much for joining me today, Gavin.
Thanks for your time. Thank you. And I wish yourself and your audience all the very best.
Thank you. And to everyone else, this is Teresa Aker from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. I hope you're all having a great day. Do go over to Gavin's site and connect with him and ask him your questions. He's wonderfully offered his story and he wants to help you. Have a great day today. Please subscribe to my channel. I look forward to talking to you all very soon. Bye-bye now.